Well, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we're live again. We've been jacking around with this stuff all morning, it seems, and it's getting a little nerve-wracking. I'm tired already, and it's only 11:10 a.m. Central Time, May the 15th, 2022. I don't have my senior co-host with me, David Ray King, just yet. He's on his way home. He'll be back on air with me here in about an hour and a half. This episode is a series, and it's a first episode in the series called The Final Chapter. And the reason I'm calling it the final chapter is because we are at a very critical juncture in our existence. We are at a very critical crossroads where we make some very vital decisions as to which way that we're going to travel. We can go right or we can go left, and there are many more ways that we can go according to our perception, our experience, our knowledge, our talent, our skill, our comprehension level, our critical thinking, processing capabilities, and the capacity of our cerebral cortex and the understanding of our mind to body connection and the ability to ascend in consciousness to a much higher level than we are now. On this show, David and I try our best to bring you the most comprehensive information regarding the latest science and technology in our society, in our world today. Some of this technology is good, some not so good. Um, Obviously, there are people that like to take technology that was made to provide benefits to the masses, and there are other scientists and technologists and elites, we shall say, in the cabal that would prefer to use these technologies in a very nefarious, very dangerous way. So we, as individuals, have to learn to live within the context of this illusion that we live in. Obviously, many of you know that we do not live in a physical, material world as such, but that the visual cortex and the five senses provide us with a very good illusion that we are living in a material, physical world when in fact we are simply pure energy, vibration, and frequency. Now, when learning about these things, it's very difficult sometimes to wrap your head around what I'm trying to convey. But if you practice the many different techniques and things that David and I talk about, you will be able to actually escape this space-time illusion and move into a higher conscious realm that will lead you to places and spaces that you never before could even comprehend. Yes, this is possible. As I like to say, I'm starting to believe anything is possible, including overcoming some of these hardships that are plaguing all of us in this global society today as we are all connected via the Internet of Things. Technology has progressed to the point that it is incomprehensible, unimaginable, unfathomable, and very, very, very complex and very hard to grasp on many levels. We try our best to go down these rabbit holes and bring information out that can help you in a very basic, easy to understand way that will help to prepare you for what is coming. And believe me, what is coming is not going to be pleasant. I know that many of you do not want to hear this. Many of you do not believe this. Many of you do not understand or comprehend these types of things. But you can take my words to the bank and cash the check. It is going to get very, very rocky over the next couple of years. And you need to be prepared for this massive storm that is just over the horizon. Some of you have been reading the agendas 21, 45, 50, and such, and some of you have been studying the World Economic Forum outline over there with Klaus Schwab. Many of you have been studying the Council of 300, the Trilateral Commission, the United Nations Security Council, and the United Nations Goals and Objectives for a better future, as they say, for all of us, where you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's one of Klaus Schwab's favorite sayings. Um, we're headed for chaos, ladies and gentlemen, and you're going to have to be prepared for this. You're going to have to be prepared as an astronaut prepares to go into space. I'm not going to go into the details of what all this preparation consists of, but I will tell you that these astronauts are very much prepared to die for these missions, and they know that there is a very high probability that they will cease to exist once they get out of orbit and are unable to return to Earth. This is a very scary thing, but it's something that all of you are going to have to practice. All of you are going to have to think about. All of you are going to have to get used to. It's going to have to become secondhand thinking. It's going to have to become an everyday occurrence where you're concentrating on these particular concepts and ideas that we're putting forward here on this show. I know that you may feel comfortable now in your zone here in the United States. You may feel very free. You may feel very comfortable. You may be very, very at ease. You may be very calm, cool, and collected. You may have enough financial resources to carry you through some of the toughest times, but the majority of people do not. Um, I could go into so many horrible things that are happening around the world right now. I'll list a few, like the millions and millions of children that are being sold into the sex trade, the sex cartels, the sex syndicate from the ages of 8 to 17 years old. Many of them kept in large dog cages until they're sold, completely naked, fed like dogs, watered like dogs, treated like dogs. It's a terrible thing. We're talking about millions and millions of children. 2.4, 2.5, 2.6 billion people starving to death in the world. Definitely not getting the nutrition that you are, not on the diet that you are, and do not have access to the food that you have access to. Many of these folks are eating out of dumpsters, eating out of city dumps, eating out of garbage bins, eating old moldy bread and nasty cheese and soured milk, and many of them are killing their cats and stripping their skin and eating them, and rats and every other kind of rodent that you can possibly think of to stay alive. Um, we have many, many different cultures, creeds, and castes, and dogmas, and religions around the world that most of you had rather not think about. People do things in different ways. People have different perceptions, different experiences, different concepts as the way life should go and the way life should be and the way people should act and carry themselves and behavior and attitude and such. And this is called expanding your knowledge and expanding your wisdom and expanding your consciousness, moving into an ascended consciousness that allows you to see a much broader spectrum of what's going on in the world around you, and not being so close-minded, not living in that little comfort zone that most of you live in every single day. Um, I want to put up our showtime. David and I are on air Monday through Friday 7 p.m. Central, we go live on Zoom, StreamYard, I think it is. We go live over there on the stream. We're live on many, many different platforms out there on the internet, and we would appreciate you all tuning in and listening to the shows. We're expanding daily. We're getting to a point now where I really feel like we're making an impact around the world. I know that several 100,000 people have listened to our voices and listened to our narratives and commentary and heard many of our interviews that have been really powerful. And we're still going. We're still here. We're not quitting. We're sick. I have cancer again. Marion is very, very sick. We're very disabled, and I may not live very much longer, to tell you the truth. And I appreciate all of you who have sent me literally hundreds of ideas on how I can stay healthy. So I could write a book on that right now, but that's not really my concern. My concern right now is raising money for our many missions that we're on, including saving some of these children from the sex trade, which we have been working on now for the last 5 years. We have had some accomplishments. We've made some success. The other thing that we're working on is mortgage fraud. We have 50 million houses now sitting vacant. And this is a shame, ladies and gentlemen, here in the United States. Um, it's just amazing to me how many houses are sitting vacant when we have so many homeless people. But you know, many of these homeless people chose to be where they are. It's of their own choice. Um, they made the decision to be where they are, consciously or subconsciously. Maybe through drugs addiction, maybe through alcohol addiction, maybe through sex addiction, maybe through psychosis. Maybe they have some type of major mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar manic depression. Maybe their medications are not taking care of their needs. Um, Maybe their medications are actually increasing their potential to be psychotic and to be mentally ill. So all of these factors have to be taken into consideration. David and I are here basically to provide, as I said, information, training, teaching, consultation, advice on how to move into a higher state of consciousness and awareness to where you can get a broader picture of what's going on in the matrix. We also try to help you to learn the what once was top secret and classified, now unclassified information from the Central Intelligence Agency programs that will allow you to ascend to these higher conscious levels and to help prepare you for what is coming. And as I have said on many of my past broadcasts, what is coming is going to be devastating. It's going to be chaotic, very confusing, very dangerous, and very deadly to many of you. Many people will die in these coming events. One event that I'm concerned about is the cyber attack on America, which could shut our systems down completely for 6 months to a year, including our electricity, gas, and fresh water systems. You all need to be prepared for that as best you can. I'm suggesting that all of you start growing your own food, even if it's in the house, even if it's in a very small garden outside or window boxes. Start growing some food. Start learning how to provide for yourself. And I'm also advising you to keep at least 60 to 75 gallons of fresh water in the closet, hidden away somewhere for these days that are on the way. We also have to be considered with this new cryptocurrency that is coming into place now, and the social credit score that the United States is copying out of China. This social credit score is going to be enslaving a lot of people more than they're enslaved now. It's going to be creating a lot more censorship than is going on now, and it's going to be delving more into your private lives than ever before and those of your children, your family, your friends, your coworkers, etc. It's going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to even give your children an allowance of $5 without going through the cryptocurrency inspection process and evaluation process where the government knows exactly where every penny is going. This overall global government that we talk about, they want control and complete domination over every living thing on the planet, including nature itself. We are such a destructive people. We're destroying our oceans. We're destroying the ice caps in Antarctica. We are destroying our climate. We are destroying our land. We are poisoning our water. We are poisoning our children. We are poisoning ourselves with these genetically modified organisms, with these genetically modified plants, and with genetically modified um, experiments that are going on all over the world. Transhumanism is on the way. The chip is on the way. Robotics are advancing to the point that is just simply incomprehensible, ladies and gentlemen. This robotics thing I could talk about for hours, and we will on the show in this series, the final chapter. The final chapter series will probably last for several weeks because it is so intense and so broad in scope and depth. Um, so many people here in America are asleep at the wheel, dead asleep at the wheel. The walking dead, we call them zombies. We call them useless eaters. Sometimes I can see why the New World Order, the dark state, deep state, etc., would want to exterminate or depopulate the planet down to 500 million people and kind of shake the Etch-a-Sketch up and kind of start over again. We have come too far and we've done too little, too late, and now we are sitting back here having to experience the consequences of our inaction. And of course, this is going to affect our children and grandchildren, which is something that I'm very concerned about, much more than I am myself, being 65 and having this cancer. I'll probably check out here within the next 5 years. Marion and I's medications and other expenses are costing us more than they should, as many of you are going through right now. And we're trying to run our missions here with the radio station. We're also trying to continue to run the police, fire, and emergency medical disaster respite team here in our county and surrounding counties. And we're doing all of this with our own money. I draw a very little small check. I'm very low income, very fixed income. She's very fixed income. We're not receiving any donations. If we are, it's only about $25 to $30 a month. But I want to thank Stephen Roberts out there, by the way, who I need to talk to today. We had a little falling out, and I need to reconnect with my brother, Stephen, who I love very much. People fall out, people have disagreements. It happens. Shit happens, right? It is what it is. Matter of fact, there's several people I want to reconnect with that I've blocked over the years, and I want to try to reconnect with them. That's what it should really be all about, is trying to make these connections, these reconnections, trying to work things out, trying to um, work through your difficulties and your disagreements and things, and stop judging each other so harshly. Stop pointing the finger at each other so harshly, and stop beating each other up so much. Um, I'm also very concerned about relationships, and I'm very concerned about men, women, men having relationships and bringing so much excess baggage to the relationship that it's almost impossible to have a loving, caring, compassionate, intuitive, discerning interaction with each other, or a total complete understanding of each other, and being able to have that respect that's needed to nourish the relationship and keep the relationship going. So many people get into these relationships based on sex or money or loneliness or for all the wrong reasons. People really don't understand what's going on. Many people have not been bonded into the tribe, as I always say, and I'll explain that on a future show, maybe tomorrow night. Bonding into the tribe is very important for the boys and very important for the girls. Obviously, we don't live in villages anymore. We don't live in tribes anymore. We don't live in small bands of people anymore. So we're kind of all alone, kind of introverted, kind of left out on the island by ourselves, kind of throwaways, castaways, if you will. And this is also psychologically damaging and traumatizing to many, including myself. I invite all of you to come over to see us on Zoom Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Central Time. We will be putting up the show times um, and inviting people from our different pages to the show. Many of you just don't care. Many of you don't give a damn. Many of you are jealous of our work. Many of you are jealous of our hours and hours of research, 50 to 80 hours a week times two, 150, 160 hours a week of research. If you add David in, that's 250 hours of research a week that we do on these stories and issues and things that are going on around the world that affect each and every one of you and your children, grandchildren, and others in your family, coworkers, friends. You can learn a lot here if you're willing to open your mind and listen and think and increase your critical thinking skills to a point to where you can absorb some of this information and use it for your own benefit. I invite all of you to please drop by the show and listen to our Zoom conferences that we have at 7 o'clock p.m. Central, Monday through Friday. And of course, I will always be here on the weekends doing these types of shows with David and without David. I'm also going to be bringing in some other co-hosts to train as co-host, not to replace my brother, David Ray, who is my senior co-host and will always be my senior co-host, I hope. But to just give people a chance to learn how to communicate on air and to learn how to think about thinking and to learn to be conscious of consciousness and to learn a little bit about esotericism and the occult and secret societies, the dark and the deep state, and the New World Order as a whole, the military industrial complex, and all of these special ops and black ops programs that are going on underneath our feet in these deep underground bases, and also the massive space, top secret space program that's been going on for many years now that some of you are not aware of. There is a depopulation effort on here, and it's in full swing right now with this new reset. And I want all of you to be thinking about food shortages coming up. Uh, and I want you all to be thinking about the censorship is going to increase in its intensity to keep us from talking to each other, to keep us down, to keep us enslaved, to keep us in bondage, to keep us from having an intelligent interaction or intercourse with each other, communication with each other, being able to say what we want to say, how we want to say it, when we want to say it, and whatever we want to say, whether it hurts or not. I am for free speech to a fault. I don't disregard any amount of free speech on our show whatsoever. What I do disregard is just stupid people, or just rude, obnoxious, mean, violent, crazy people. Otherwise, I'll let you stay on air. I don't like know-it-alls either who really know nothing whatsoever. I don't want you coming on our show pretending to know this, that, and the other when you really don't know this, that, and the other. I'd rather you just keep your mouth shut and listen and learn than to come on and pretend to be a PhD or pretend to be a scientist or pretend to be this, that, or the other. And really, in reality, you're just not any of those things. And believe me, it doesn't take me long to sniff you out and ask you the questions that will prove that you are a fraud, a liar, a cheat, a scam artist, trying to glaze days and amaze people with your brilliant terminology, trying to impress people rather than express to people what you're trying to get across. And as I said earlier in my broadcast, um, I love all of you LGBT folks out there, and I love all of you folks out there who are having trouble understanding this gender confusion. I know what you're going through. I understand. I have compassion and I have discernment, and I'm very intuitive to these types of things. And I feel sorry for these children who are having to grow up in this kill culture, this PC culture, this critical race theory, and all of these other things that children are being bombarded with right now, including misinformation, disinformation, and all of these other horrible things that children are having to encounter right now. There's ways to talk about this. There's ways to deal with this without being judgmental or pointing fingers or cursing or raising hell or condemning people. There are ways to deal with this. I also don't want you coming on my show trying to save my soul. I have my own very unique and wonderful, blessed relationship with the source of my existence, my being. David has his own very special relationship with the source of his being. And we don't want people coming on, especially dogmatic, hardcore, hard headed Christians trying to come on preaching and teaching all of these things out of the King James uh, fictional book that everyone reveres so much in the Christian community, who haven't gone back to study the Hebrew and the Sanskrit, the Latin and the Greek, who haven't gone back and looked at the archaeological finds and the geological archaeological finds that have unearthed all of these new scrolls and all of this new information that the Catholic Church and others have buried because they contain so much truth concerning our extraterrestrial intervention, extraterrestrial presence that has been with us for many thousands, possibly millions of years, and also that we are possibly manifestations of some of these experiments that were going on 6,000 years ago, 25,000 years ago, 25 million years ago. We really don't know how long this has been happening. And I can tell you right now that anything that I teach here is probably an antiquated and is probably 1,000 years ahead in technology and science of what I'm teaching here. So I'm doing my best to try and keep up with all of the advanced AI and the machine learning and the fusion centers and all of these other things that are going on in robotics right now and transhumanism. So it's very important that you all understand that we do understand our understanding and we are conscious of our consciousness. And this is important when you are listening to a show like this. You know, David and I do not claim to know anything. We are explorers and we are watchers, and we are here to observe what is going on around us in our environment of pure energy and vibration and frequency. We are here to talk about the latest findings in quantum physics and particle physics and quantum mechanics and quantum computing. We are here to talk about the latest discoveries in neurology and brain-mind connection and collective consciousness. And we are also here to debunk many of these myths and misinformation, disinformation that's going around out there that we think is very dangerous to our children. Some of that would be the Marxist uh, paradigm, the Marxist concept that has been injected into our universities and our public schools. The other thing would be the sex education that's being taught to our fourth graders and fifth graders now. I think this is just a little too young to start teaching children how to use vibrators and dildos and butt plugs and how to use your parents' vibrating toothbrush to have an orgasm. And I think it's a little too young to do that, and Common Core is definitely doing that around the United States. I don't have anything really against drag queens reading stories in the library to children either. I think people get really overdone and really over emotional about these types of things. Some of my best friends have been transvestites, morphodites, cross dressers. Uh, some of my best friends have been transgender. Some of my best friends have been homosexual. And I've loved each and every one of them dearly, and they've treated me with respect and kindness and dignity and caring and compassion. And they're very intuitive and very discerning. And I love them very much. And as far as this black-white thing, it's hard for me to get that blacks and whites can't come together on the same page, at least a little bit, and talk about some of these other folks as being crazy instead of dividing ourselves amongst each other, black and white, and hating each other. And the slavery thing keeps coming up, and we're all slaves now. Uh, and the black people had slaves. They sold and bought slaves and traded slaves and killed slaves and tortured slaves, burned slaves alive and hung slaves on the lowest limb of the tree. And they made lots of money off of these slaves, blacks keeping black slaves. This went on for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And we don't look at those types of things. And in Christianity, Christians have a hard time talking to me about the Inquisition. They have a hard time talking to me about Christians who have probably been responsible for the deaths of more people than many of the dictators that we know and many of the wars that have happened, um, you know, uh, over time. And so it's very very difficult to grasp. I'm trying to look at David's message here. He sent me a message, and I'm trying to see where that message is. Low FPS on Facebook we have here going on, but yeah, I can't, David. I can't reach you. I can't see you. I don't know what to do. But anyway, David hasn't asked to come in yet to this particular broadcast. We're going to do another one in a moment. But I wanted to get some of these things out, and I'm going to reiterate these things again on the next show with David here in a little while because they're so important for all of you to grasp and to try to understand. Um, the United States has been very fortunate and been very, very lucky and very blessed, if you will. I hate to use that word, blessed, because I'm not a Christian, but I think we've been very blessed in this country to have food on the table, to have a roof over our head, most of us, and to have a car to drive and work to do. But I also am very disappointed and very depressed and very distressed about the millions of homeless people that are here in the United States that are suffering and in pain. I'm also very distressed about our senior citizens being thrown away into these crappy nursing homes that I call prisons for the elderly. I'm also very disturbed about hospice and their corruption, moving into the hospitals like vultures, taking over our senior citizens who are failure to thrive, failure to thrive, failure to thrive. When you hear those three words, take your senior citizen, grab a cab, and run like hell and go hide somewhere because hospice is there to make that money, baby. Follow the money. Follow the money. They're making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on death. They're capitalizing on death and pain and suffering. Sure, they say they're there to help, and sure, they say they're there to give you a big shot of morphine, and they're going to lessen the pain and lessen the stress and depression. But, they leave you there by yourself with the kill pack that we call it the kill pack, and they leave you there with the morphine with your family member, and you're having to change diapers, and you're having to put this purple food junk liquid down the feeding tube, and you're having to do all of these things. It's very depressing. It's very, very chaotic. It's a horrible situation to be in, and many of you have been in it. I've been in it with Mother. I went through it with Mother, and for 14 years we took care of Mother at home. But I also want to mention last year the fundraiser. We are going to try to raise $3,000 or so to help Marion and I get through my cancer that's reoccurred. I had a massive tumor taken off my left kidney. I went through major colorectal surgery, horrible recoveries, and now here I am repeating history, it seems. Again, Marion is very, very sick and in need of financial assistance. So we're going to do this fundraiser, and I hope that you all will respond and we can raise that $3,000. I don't think we're going to ask for any more than that. I think that's reasonable. I would like to ask for $5,000, but we're going to probably go for 3,000, maybe 3,500, and see if we can raise that money to help us to stay alive, to keep thriving for the next year without being in so much pain and suffering and depression and stress ourselves. I love you all very, very much, and I hope that you have gained some insight into what we do and who we are here. We have many, many pages on Facebook that are wonderful, wonderful healing pages, and educational and training is going on over there, and lots of great news from around the world. And I hope you all will participate in those pages. You can find me over there if you'd like to friend me at Philip Anderton is my name. Philip Anderton, Anderton. Kyler Davenport is my stage name, pen name, my musical name when I do my CDs in studio. I have a new CD coming out in a few weeks. I've got a new book coming out also. Under the heading of Modern Evolution of Minds is my series. I write about advanced communication, human communication and relationships, the importance of understanding and comprehending the full breadth and depth of the communication process. Um, and I'm not opposed to talking to you flat earthers either, and all of you others who think we didn't go to the moon and all of these other things. The world's sitting on a turtle's back. I don't care really what it is. Just come on in with it. I don't think that's crazy. I think that's kind of interesting, actually. So I'm not opposed to any of these things. I'll let you know if you get out of hand. David will let you know. And if you just get too belligerent and too crazy, some people get violent with us. And this is something we're not going to take is this disrespect. You can disrespect me to a point, but don't beat me down in the dirt. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. I'll try not to do that to you either. So anyway, David and I'll be back on air here shortly. I love you guys and girls very, very much. And remember, whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, and enthusiastically act upon will come to pass. And I truly believe that in from both the negative and the positive sense, both the yin and the yang, both the feminine and the masculine. You have to find a balance. There has to be synchronicity and balance in all of this for it to work. And coming into that higher level of consciousness will really help to clarify some things and to bring you less stress and less depression and less confusion and put you on that straight and narrow path and open your eyes and ears and increase the proficiency of your five senses that help you navigate this very, very complex matrix that we live in. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you in a moment with David Ray King. Thank you. Bye. Love you all.